Hello Blast Processors and Tomomat Attack listeners. We're back here in my game room, now 2014. Thank you for checking out the last game room video, hope you enjoyed it. Unfortunately we didn't get to cover the entire room as it was back then, but this time round we're going to have a look at everything. I'm going to skip over a lot of it, having already talked in depth about the collection before, but I just wanted to give you a general update of how many games this room contains now, and unfortunately it's not as organised as it used to be because of that fact. A lot of these games are empty boxes because a lot of the games I took to Denmark with me to play. Unfortunately I still haven't a chance to play a lot of them, but we're working on it. So I hope you enjoy this game room update. Here we go. Okay, so a bit of an update on the video game collection. Mega Drive games, there's a few more added to the fray. There's a few more nice decorative things up there as well. Saturn games, not much has changed since last time. You may notice a few more Game Boy Advance boxes there. In regards to new Mega Drive games, I finally have my own copy of Robocop vs Terminator, Last Battle, Monster Lair, I think it was called, Wonder Boy 3. That's from a game shop in Nottingham, where they sell a few retro things. Really, can you believe that price? Why did I pay that? Well, I was picked up Last Battle, the Fist of the North Star game, another name. I think Wonder Boy's pretty good, but Last Battle didn't really grab me. Robocop vs Terminator, great game. Well, you already knew that. So a couple more, I think, since last time is Bart vs Space Mutants. Sorry, no, Bart's Nightmare it was. What I got. This was from a Cash Converters store. I read up on this game. It's got some really interesting history. Really quite an experimental design for a game. If you read up on Bart's Nightmare, there's some interesting info about it online. Moving along, anything else from Cash Converters again? Found a copy of WWF Raw, which is a surprisingly fun wrestling game. Ended up with a copy of Rise of the Robots somehow. Never really been a fan of the game. I think I bought something else that came with it. Maybe it was a Mega Drive 2 console. Of course, that and a lot of other things are in Denmark, because that's where I spend the majority of my time now. Working my job over there, so this room isn't as full as it usually is. Super Skid Marks, great game. My friend Gary bought this because he was a Mega Drive Gary, you may know him as. He was a fan of this one. I'd never played it before. Unfortunately, he's got one of the not real Mega Drives, you know, those ones that play Mega Drive games, have so many inbuilt, but they don't actually play all of them. Ghostbusters is another one that doesn't play, a game which I've yet to get. Another one recommended by Mega Drive Gary was Rolo to the Rescue. That's a really weirdly designed game, but I love the aesthetic, you know, similar to that of James Pond. Wiz and Liz was another one I picked up recently. Greatest Heavyweights again, I think came with a Mega Drive 2 console I picked up. Tiny Toon Adventures was again, I think, from Cash Converters, but not much else new there. In regards to Master System games, there's a couple of new ones. Deep Duck Trouble, always been a fan of Lucky Dime Caper, so that's a pseudo sequel. You've got Jurassic Park was another new one, which was a nice surprise. It was good. I like movie tie-in games on retro systems, usually, as long as they're good, you know. But how you take a franchise like Jurassic Park and turn it into a 2D platform, done well. Right, so what do we have down here? Well, we have a load of PS2 games. And believe it or not, all these PS2 games are empty boxes. Why, you may ask? Well, since I live in Denmark now, I wanted to take a few games with me. And these were all the PS2 games I decided to take with me. There's an awful lot there. and I have to say I haven't actually got around to playing most of them. But so seeing they're empty boxes, what better place for them than there? It's a new addition to the Rock Band lineup. A couple. I mean, the last video I did was a long time ago, so since then I got Beatles Rock Band for the Wii. There's the Hofner bass guitar, the mic stand, and one of the other guitars you can buy. I think this is George Harrison's signature Beatles guitar. In here is quite a bit different than before. So there's actually an Xbox in here which is all plugged in and connected, and doesn't overheat or anything, even when shut in the cupboard being on. But then I never play it for that long anyway, so I haven't any problems there. So it fit in there rather nicely. Here I keep 3DO games. It's an assortment. It's a bit of a mess because there's so much now in this room. There's not just the space to put it all out. In fact, I think behind here what you've got is more games. You've got a few empty collector's edition boxes, Conker's Bad Fur Day, NES games now here, Japanese Super Nintendo box games like Power Instinct, very good game. And yeah, as you can see there's a load of Wii game boxes. These are the discs are in Denmark again. Engine's Curiosity here, Christmas Seaman, practically unplayable now, but it's a nice thing to have. This is I think it's a sealed copy of Christmas Seaman. I thought at the time I was getting a bit of a bargain. I think I got it for about £30, but I don't think it's really worth as much as I thought it was. Here are my PAL Saturn games. What? PAL Saturn games? If you remember last time I only had Japanese ones. Well, I picked up a PAL Saturn for Denmark actually, because I've done it a little bit. I've bought duplicate systems to take over to Denmark, but never exactly the same system. I bought a Mega Drive 2 to go to Denmark. I only have a Mega Drive 1 here, and I chose to get a PAL Saturn with a handy passport cartridge which allows you to play both PAL games and also Japanese games. So really it makes my old Japanese Saturn sort of redundant, but yeah, it's nice to have the black Saturn too. And here are a few of the PAL games I picked up. Their advantage obviously to doing PAL is the games are in English on this system, which helps in some cases, but I don't tend to play the games that are text heavy, like RPGs, so as you can see here, there's a lot of those sort of platform games and fighting games, shooting games, racing games, puzzle action, and this Dragon Ball Z game, which is actually in Spanish, I think. I like the cover. Sadly the game wasn't as entertaining as I'd hoped. Again, behind here, probably can't see, no you can't see, but there's Wii games, empty Wii game boxes. Since making the last video I've had loads more Wii games really, so they're all in here, along with my Dreamcast games. These are pretty much all still here in the UK. I brought a couple over to Denmark. And the odd Wii game doesn't fit anywhere else. Down here are firstly big collector's edition boxes. Not so much into buying collector's editions, but with games like Soul Calibur 5, which I'm a big fan of the series, I decided to get collector's edition. And also, when I used to work at Game, collector's editions to buy second hand were no more than the regular editions, so things like Fable 3 I picked up then, and Forza Motorsport 3 with the little USB drive that came in there. There's the Catherine box. I was very excited about Catherine and bought a special edition of it. Not disappointed. A great game. Behind all this you've got my Xbox 360 games, which didn't have an Xbox 360 last time I made a video. My latest console was actually the Wii. So there's a nice collection of Xbox 360 games. I just point out probably my favourite game for the system, Shadows of the Damned. Oh, amazing. But if you listen to the podcast, you've heard me talk about that enough over the months. And yes, some more 360 games again. There's a few more behind there. I really like the system. I play it still every week. It's in Denmark now, but I play online with my good friend Gareth. I've been playing Resident Evil 5 recently. Yes, well, we have all the PS2 games which I have here in the UK on the shelves. Makes sense, easy to access, and there's a nice collection of different things there. I bought a lot of PS2 games over the years, mainly because they were cheap, and I really got into collecting games based again off movies, really because I'd stopped getting those sort of games, thinking that all movie tie-ins were terrible, but you find a lot of the Disney games and stuff are actually rather fun, and being a big platformer fan, I've got a few of them. My GameCube collection continues down here. Some great titles on the GameCube. I think it's probably among the best systems of playing multiplayer on. Not quite as organised as it used to be, this room, just because there's so much in it now. These are the few Wii games I have in the UK that aren't empty boxes. The discs are actually in there. And then you continue on to the original Xbox, which is a great system still. Plenty of great games. Graphically, for the time, far superior to the PlayStation 2. In fact, the advantages of the Xbox over the PS2 are huge. You've got the hard drive there. You need to store music on your Xbox, which I use it for when doing the washing up. There's some great games for that system again, and usually I'd buy the Xbox versions as opposed to the PS2 versions of games. You can see a little bit of console setup down here. The Pokemon N64, my favourite colours are blue and yellow, so this is a perfect one to get. My Dreamcast, I think this is the original Dreamcast still. Been repaired again recently, still works, thank God. But there's a couple more somewhere in the house. There is my Wii, which I use now in the UK, because in Denmark I have a Wii U. And I've copied all the information off my Wii onto the Wii U, so yeah, occasionally, you know, I play the odd multiplayer game when friends come over on the Wii, and also still a fan of Rock Band and Beatles Rock Band, play that over here. My PS2, so it's a bit dusty. Recent acquisition of PS1. I actually got this, kind of came free with a copy of Skull Monkeys I bought. So I was happy to own one of these, because I've never have done. And it also comes to the original PS1 controller, which I've never had, not being a PS1 gamer. Back in the day I was all about the N64, so. And the DualShock, which I use on my PS2, because the only PS2 controller I have still here in the UK is broken. So I was happy to get something that I could use my on my PS2 again. This is the most recent console acquisition though. This is a Scorpion 8 Famiclone console. Ooh, it looks just like a Famicom, but it's black. That's funny. You know what? It also plays just like a Famicom, but with a British power supply, so no messing around with step-down converters or anything. Get to play some games that have never come out over here. I love this about the Famicom. You can do that. There's Star Wars. It's a real game where Darth Vader famously turns into a scorpion as you fight him inside one of the sandcrawlers on Tatooine right at the beginning of the game. Makes no sense, but it's not a bad game. Bit punishing, one-hit kills. There's a GameCube. Woo! Very nice. No Game Boy player here though at the moment, that went to Denmark. Matt Boyle uses it extensively for his videos, which are great by the way, check them out, Game Boyle. And there's some PS Vita games, the few boxed PS Vita games I have here. In fact, again, they're empty boxes, the games are with the Vita. I picked this up yesterday. This is Worms Blast for the PS2. Cost me a princely sum of £1. I've always liked the Worms franchise, I've always liked sense of humour. I've been playing Bust-A-Move 2 recently, and having looked at the back of the box I thought, wow, this looks like Bust-A-Move. It's quite different really, it adds a lot. It's got the basic premise of Bust-A-Move, but it adds a lot of extra puzzle elements on top, some unique ideas. It's very addictive, that one. Down here, a second copy Beatles Rock Band I got with my George Harrison Beatles Rock Band guitar. So the other one's in Denmark, and picked up for another bargain yesterday. £1 Song Pack 2 to go with my Song Pack 1. Got some great songs there. £1 to play all these tracks. Devo, nice. PS1 games, lots of fighting games. I can't remember actually if we got up to this in the old Game Room video. But here it is. Anyway, this is a nice one. I used to have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on the Dreamcast. This is the PlayStation 1 version that Matt Boyle picked up for me in Corfu, and actually I like it a lot more now than I did then. In fact, something that I can't remember the Dreamcast version having was a versus mode, an arcade versus mode, which for me, I didn't quite like the story mode on this one, but I really loved the arcade mode, so that's nice to have. Came with a funny box though. This is how they sell them over there in the store. Matt bought them. No instruction manuals, and it's a shame that the cover's kind of been cut down to fit, but what I care about most is being able to play the game, and I can. It doesn't bother me really. Kiss Pinball. I like Kiss. I don't like Kiss Pinball. It's not. It's okay. But I could have lived without it, I think. Skull Monkeys, recent acquisition. Great platformer. And there's a few more PS1 games. Okay, so a small handheld collection here. This is my first handheld games console, Game Boy Color, my original turquoise one, as you can see quite clearly. Now a lot of my Game Boy games are in Denmark. In fact, the majority of my collection are, but a few for some reason I left here. I think Pokemon Pinball, because it was too big to fit in the box, that I took to Denmark. This was a recent acquisition, Kirby's Tilt and Tumble. Japanese copy, but it's quite playable without knowing Japanese. There's a copy of Street Fighter Alpha for the Game Boy Color. WarioWare Twisted, which I mentioned actually in my last Games Room video. Very good game. Down here, Game Watch Gallery, King of Fighters 95, Ballerina Toshinden, and a small collection of Neo Geo Pocket Color games. Pocket Color was a recent acquisition of mine, and it's a great Virtual Pac-Man on the go. And this is Match for Millennium, SNK vs Capcom, and down here is King of Fighters R2. I've got a couple more with my actual console. That's somewhere else amongst all this stuff, unrelated. Although there's a Sonic Bubble Bath container from a long time ago, although he fell off the shelf and snapped a little bit. I think over the years his plastic had become pretty brittle. That's a nice thing to still have. So yeah, we've covered these PS1 games. Down here is Mega Drive 1 console, complete with Master System converter. There's a few empty boxes down here. This is overspill. The drawers below contain the rest of the DS, 3DS boxes, amongst other things. Here is a NES. If you don't know what one looks like, but there it is. What's in here? Well, I can see there's a copy of Wii Sports. There's also all my PSP games, and a lot of them are actually here in the boxes. I have a few in Denmark with my PSP, but yeah, I really like that console. It became my main handheld console when I got one. I had a DS before that, which is somewhere. There it is, DS Lite. I forgot to mention there's some other Game Boys. My Game Boy Advance and my Game Boy Pocket. Got the Game Boy Pocket with a copy of Street Fighter for the Game Boy for a very affordable price. I also have the SP in Denmark. Right, let's go down here and let's see what else we've got. So we looked at the PSP games in here. Oh gosh, you've got DS games and 3DS games, and down here more DS games. These are all empty boxes of DS games I keep with my console, either in a little box or in the bag with it. Let's have a cup of tea. And down here, what have we got? Well, this is a Japanese Dreamcast game, Cannon Spike, well, Gun Spike in Japan. This was a lot cheaper than buying the PAL copy of it. Game I always wanted to play. Picked it up fairly recently. Sonic & Knuckles. I got this from GameStation. It wasn't in the original box, but everything's still there. Manual, cartridge. Very nice thing to have. Here's my Japanese Dreamcast games. And lo and behold, they're pretty much all fighting games. Apart from this Love Hina game. At a time when I was quite into Love Hina, was reading the manga, I decided to pick up the game. Of course it's all in Japanese, and it's one of those text-based romance adventures. Utterly pointless owning it, I suppose. Same with this Card Captor Secure game. Better ones here are the American Sega Smash Pack, which featured Revenge of Shinobi, Sonic the Hedgehog, Virtua Cop. Interestingly, the version of Virtua Cop... Is it Virtua Cop 1 or 2? Virtua Cop 2 features some advertisements for Shenmue inside. It was a special version made especially for the Dreamcast. 12 great games. That's a great thing to have if you're able to play imports on your Dreamcast. Typing of the Dead, another good American import to have. And there's a few UMDs in there. Super Mario Returns, Depeche Mode, Ghost in the Shell, a few Japanese Mega Drive games hidden away at the back, and oh, another NES game, which is, well, no, there's NES games. There's actually two here. There's High Speed, which is a pinball game, and Digger. These games I haven't really played much, probably because I've forgotten Digger T-Rock, yeah. I've forgotten I had them. Oh, well, there we go. You find something when you start rooting through stuff. There's an N64 controller there as well. Nice to have an extra one of them. This lets you play imports on your PAL Dreamcast. There's another good UMD to have. Interstellar 5555. Watch it on the go. Can't say fairer than that. Now, what's in here? Well, I think you can already see it's N64 games. A few of these again I took over to Denmark, but what do we have here? Mario Kart 64, a load of wrestling games. The N64, some great wrestling games. Body Harvest, tore up Rage Wars now. I was playing this again recently with my friend Adam. Wow, all the fond memories of playing this game just came back to me. It's a really great multiplayer shooter, and I'd love to see a remake of this. I love it. And Pokemon Stadium Gex 64 I was always a fan of. I know the magazines weren't. So much so I got Gex 3 for the N64. Tonic Trouble, Moon and Twist. As you know, I'm into platformers, so Bomberman Hero, Shadow Man. So there's quite a few N64 games. It was really the console that got me back into video gaming after the CDI. So it did a good job there. And there's some great games on the N64. You can see a few of them here. Beetle Adventure Racing. Maybe an often overlooked title, but a great one. Yeah, I won't go into too much detail, but there's some of the classics in there. In this drawer, it's a few retro odds and ends really. There's some NES games, the ones I didn't bring over to Denmark with me. And there's my small collection of Famicom games, Labyrinth, which I was very excited to get hold of, because I'm a huge fan of the movie. And Samurai Pizza Cats, used to love this as a kid, and it's great to be able to have the game now. One of the perks of having a Famicom. There's an American copy of Indiana Jones. Thankfully my Super Nintendo is able to play both American and PAL games and Japanese games, so I'm able to get some of those. I mean, I don't think that came out in the UK. can't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes these American games are cheaper than their counterparts. They're all Super Star Wars ones. There's Turtles in Time. There's 2 copies of Mario Paint. Donkey Kong Country. But as I say, quite a few of my Super Nintendo games are in Denmark. Down here, ooh, it's controllers galore, controllers, wires and general cables. Nothing too exciting. And that, I think, is about it. Other than a few more N64 games, which you saw in my last video. Not much changed. It is still the Rareware rack. I'm happy I've now got Conker's Bad Fur Day, so I think I've got a complete collection of Rare games on the N64. A few ones here, and one of them I took to Denmark. Which one it is, I cannot remember. But yes, there we have it. Game Room as it is, 2014. I thought it was over. Well, here's a quick bonus. PS3 games. There's no room for them in that back room, so they're up here in my bedroom. I like the PS3 a lot. It's become really my main console since moving over to Denmark. And I've started to buy a lot more games for PS3 than I was for 360. The Blu-ray format's great, you're not having to have so many discs. I saw that the Wolfenstein New Order, I think 4 discs on the Xbox. Yeah, it's on 1 Blu-ray on PS3. But yeah, there's some of my PS3 games. As I say, I've been playing a lot more on the PS3 in Denmark, so there's a few more games I've got over there. Some of the more recent releases. And down here, just tucked away, not shamefully, by no means, but Lynx games. There's a few there. My favourite being, of course, Ninja Gaiden 3. And I haven't opened Chips Challenge yet, mainly because my Lynx takes so many batteries. So I haven't got the batteries to play it, but I used to love Chips Challenge on my old PC, so there's that. One day it will get played, I assure you. And that was it. My game room as it is now, 2014. It's always fun to come back here whenever I come back to the UK for holidays and such, to see the old place and to give it a little bit of a tidy and play some of the games which I haven't been able to play in Denmark. It's great to have friends around and play a lot of the great multiplayer games that I've got here, like Pac-Man Versus, which is just a fantastic game. And so I hope you've enjoyed this latest look at my game room. There'll be another video, I'm sure, to come in the future. I don't know how many years it's going to be until we see another one, but maybe sooner rather than later. But yeah, thanks again, and game on.